there we go. I think we're live. There we go. Go live now. We're going live. We're live, ladies and
What?
gentlemen. I think we're live. Somebody can
His
tell
name is
me.
Chris. He's hanging out with us on this Thursday night. He told me he wanted me to sing for him. I can't even sing. The guys at work always ask me to
I
sing.
I still have a recording somewhere. I may have deleted it. I'm not too sure. Um, of you singing. Oh, see now the link is gone, so I gotta like put it all out and shit again.
It's all right, brother. You don't want
Oh,
me to.
oh, that's right. They dropped the anti monetization. Link dropped. Link dropped. Sorry. YouTube dropped on the new temp janky
Yeah,
Den
it's a
of
conspiracy.
Lore studio.
What up, Ellen?
New link. There we
All
go.
right. Well, right now, man, I'm going to the book in the house on this Thursday night with Mr. Chris in the Den of Lore.
Share now.
Oh, I remember it was a Christmas song. Right? It was
Yes,
a Christmas.
yes.
I'm dreaming of a white
White
Christmas.
Christmas.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chris from the Den of Lord. Just like the
What?
ones I used to know. Dude, that's got chills.
Where the treetops glisten and the children listen to hear the sleigh bells in the snow.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Den of Lore. In the official release, we're probably going to edit this out. Welcome to the jank temporary version. As you can see, this is not my usual setup. The studio has been torn apart, as I mentioned last week. But first, ladies and gentlemen, my friends, today we gather here to acknowledge a powerful truth that has the potential to change all of our lives, and I want you all to repeat after me. I can and I will overcome. Now, let's say it again with a little bit more energy. Rocky, if you can
I
help me out there.
can
And I
and I
will
will
overcome.
overcome.
We all face challenges, obstacles, demons in our lives, but both internal and external. They come in various forms: fear, doubt, negativity, addiction, or even the judgment of others. But I'm here to tell you all that no matter how tough this can seem and the battles may seem, you have the power to overcome that. Now, let me remind you of something very essential. It's okay to not be strong enough some days. It's okay to feel weak, to feel like you're unable to overcome the challenges in your life. What's important is for you to remember that every day is a new opportunity for you to keep fighting. Tomorrow's another day to conquer those demons and emerge victorious. As long as you're still breathing, you can keep going. When you wake up each morning, remind yourself that you have the power to make the day better than yesterday. You have the chance to face those demons head on and prove yourself that you are more than your fears, your doubts, your insecurities. Remember that growth and progress are not linear. There will be ups and downs, moments of weakness, and moments of triumph. So when life knocks you down, don't be afraid to lean on others for support. Share your struggles with friends, family, even a professional if you need to. There is strength in vulnerability, my friends. Do not be ashamed to admit that you need help because, in the end, we are all human. And we all have our demons to face. Now, I want you to visualize a better version of yourself. Picture yourself standing tall, fearless and unbreakable. That's a little bit cheesy, but okay, we'll go with it. Having conquered your demons, let that image fuel you, inspire you, and propel you towards the greatness that lies within you because, my friends, you have boundless potential, and the only person who can stop it is yourself. So as you walk out of here today, from the den, remember that life is full of challenges, but it's also full of opportunities, and you have the power to make that happen. So, Rocky, I'm going to give you your intro, and I want to say thank you very much for taking the time. I know you are extremely, extremely busy these days, and warms my heart to be able to have a good time with you again.
I want to
Now,
say something real quick, brother. I
go
love you
for
for
it.
one. I love you for one. And I know I just
Love
completely
you too, man.
interrupted your flow.
It's okay.
Uh, but I want people to understand something. What you just said in your intro there, I hope you're going to say that every show because that don't come for free, what you just said.
No, it
People
doesn't, brother.
speak those words because they're just words. People speak those words
Mm-hmm.
because they're coming from somewhere, brother. So hats off to you, man. That was one Beautiful intro, brother.
Well, thank you, brother. This, like the den has like helped people, some well known, some not. It's helped myself throughout many years, and I'm like, you know what? We can learn a lot about cool shit, but like at the end of the day, it's like we got to look out for one another, and there's so much negativity in the world these days. You got to add some positivity back. Now, for you,
It's funny because I said that yesterday. It's not so much in my mindset of wanting to change the world anymore because I lived in that realm that I thought that a single voice could have so much power. It's more about, okay, I can't do that, but what I can do is create my own world of the right people that encourage and influence each other and help people up when we fall, and all share our past experiences and counsel one another in a positive manner. Because if you can build that, you do have a beautiful world. You know what I mean? And it's kind of irrelevant in what goes on the rest of the world. It is relevant, but irrelevant in regards to when we say the words pursuit of happiness. Well, you know what the pursuit is putting the time in to make sure that our results at the end are what we expect. You know what I mean?
well, that's it, man. Like if you want something good, you got to go get it. But sometimes it's out of reach. Sometimes it's hard to get. Sometimes there's obstacles in your way. You know, life's gonna knock you down sometimes, and it's like heck. Not having coffee can knock you down. You could be out and down and out first thing in the morning. I'm trying to make sure I got this microphone boom.
It's pretty incredible the importance of that first cup of coffee in that morning.
Oh my God.
And the importance of people's safety that we have that first cup of coffee. And then you could talk to us.
Pretty much.
You know what I mean?
Well,
kind of feel that.
Well, it's you got to have your coffee. Yeah, you got to have your morning, go to your office. You collect yourself, collect your thoughts. Deposit what you need to and get on with your day.
Yeah, man.
And if that kind of routine, at least it brings that normalcy to things. So, and even just like that basic routine, that can help you a tremendous amount. Just trying to be able to get through day to day, whether you're busy.
Are you a creature of routine?
I'm a creature of the idea of routine.
Okay. All right.
I like the general concept of routine. Whether routine, but like chaos, that's life. You got kids, you got a few kids, you know what that's like. Things can get thrown right out the window or into the blender. What about you? Like I know when you're dealing with stuff on a day to day, especially with all the new studio, all the changes, new guests, new show. You get a text and I can throw that right out.
I'm the complete opposite. So now during the day, I work, let's say for a federal contractor. I have a large amount of employees. Just that obstacle. Love my job, very much appreciate it. But when you talk about change, that type of life when you're managing manufacturing, it's constantly changing. Things are constantly happening. Things are constantly breaking down. But on the other spectrum of things, in regards to what I do outside of my day job, nothing can ever be planned, ever, because everything is based off of opportunity and making sure you're going out and getting those opportunities, and you don't know when those opportunities are going to pop. And so if you are a creature of habit and you are programmed, my wife is, she's programmed for routine. She is very dialed in. She needs to understand what's going to happen next week. What's the plans next month? What's the 6-month outlook? What's the 1-year outlook? She's very dialed in on that. So, we're two opposite. We're polar opposites when it comes to that, but yet it's a balance, So when you have the teeter-totter, that teeter-totter sitting, we kind of match in the middle. But if I was calculated like that psychologically, then I wouldn't be able to do what I do, because every single day I would have a complete mental frustration because of me not being able to adapt to that change. So you can't get mad when things are out of your control, and you can't change things that are out of your control. So if it happens because it works out in the long run sooner or later.
Well, that's kind of one of the things I'm better at doing things on the fly. Meg, whom you may have met her on camera. Like she just got home from trivia now. I can just hear her hear her above me. She's a creature of habit. Religiously so. And my wife and your wife would get along fine, probably in that regard.
It produces conflict sometimes.
Oh yeah, no, it can. It can.
I mean, we are risk-taking individuals, and I'm right now in my life, I'm about as extreme as it can get when it comes to risk, because I laid my entire, not my soul. I mean, that's a bad reference. I heard bad things in the music industry about the soul and selling your soul, so I'm not going to use that reference. But I got a lot on the line because I'm not afraid. Because what else am I going to lose, brother? You know what I'm saying? What else am I going to lose? What's going to happen? What's the worst that can happen? You know, I am so just sick and tired of watching so many people I love go an entire lifetime of all these things that they knew they had the capabilities of doing, these dreams and their imagination. You know, they never completely put it away, but they left it contained and they kept it balanced because of we're always afraid of how are the people that we love the most going to react, and are they going to look at us as being silly, or if we have an idea, or if we want to pursue something. Support is such a beautiful thing.
Well, in the support, to a certain extent, if you're dealing with that kind of negativity, I'm not going to say negativity, but those obstacles or those concerns, a lot of the time that is, that's driven by fear of change, fear of loss, fear of upending of life, fear of failure, and those are really natural things that you can deal with. Even when I was growing up, and I know, like my mom, she'll watch the show sometimes, and she's like, "Oh, I may watch the show tonight. I like that Rocky guy." It's like I'm booking the guests now based on my.
Oh my, how you doing? Sorry, Chris. Hey, Chris told me to freaking behave before we started, but you know what? I heard Mama Chris is gonna pop in. I gotta say, yo, Mom, don't worry about it. You know.
Oh man, so now I forgot what I was gonna say. Jesus. Had dinner with her, tonight. Dropped the kids off because we're doing some heavy demo. All this is going to be gone in a couple of days, and it's like, I can remember. I never really talked about it with her, but I'm like I remember back in the day when I'm like, oh, I'm going to do, X, Y, Z, and she's, she would say like, well, that may not work, and just like with anybody else, they don't want to see you in pain. They don't want to see you fail. Yeah. And it's not from a doubt of like, oh, I don't think you can do this. It's like from like, I don't think I can handle watching you, fall and lose everything, because parents are.
They're being empathetic. They're protecting you from a pain that they understand.
Well, no matter how old you get, parents are going to have that same. Got to protect my little boy or little girl attitude, no matter how old you get.
Amen.
And it's eventually you get to a point where it's like when I started going out, I started throwing events or running clubs, and my mom's like, well, the first couple of times, like, you went where? Are you out of your effing mind? Mm-hmm. And then like a year and a half later, she's like helping me organize flyers for my own event I'm throwing. So, eventually, once they see that you can handle yourself, they're like, okay, we're fine. It's like with my daughter, my youngest Kira, she's starting to climb on tables now, like
she is.
Coffee tables. Climbing up, and the first couple times, she'll climb up, turn around, just boom, fall off the end. God. And I'm like, okay, and like you're afraid that they're gonna do this.
Brother, can I tell you something?
Go for it.
There's parts of me that I feel super guilty, and I feel like I failed as a father. Because those moments, man, those moments when my boys were babies and they climbed stuff, and I remember one time I go out in the backyard of Mario, he was halfway up a tree. Man, he was like 15 feet off the ground. I like, part of my soul seriously came out my ear. I swear I had to put my hand on my ear to stop it because it was coming up pretty quick. It was harmless. He wasn't going to fall. He was actually climbing extremely smart, and he was doing everything correct. But me thinking, I saw him fall in my mind. And in my mind, I like could hear bones break and see arms break and see him in the hospital. And I didn't want to see him in that pain.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of their life, I was that man. I was wherever we went. I was the bulldog. I was the lion. And I was sometimes not allowing them to do certain things to be maybe, I don't know, a little overly protective.
And that's why, that's why the idea of like helicopter parents, like kids learn through risk management, or they learn risk management through falling and learning how to pick themselves up again. And I know, it's cliche. It's like, Master. I'll do my best Michael Caine impression. Master Wayne, why is it we fall down, pick ourselves back up again? That's my bad Michael Caine impression, and it's and it's kind of the same thing. Like pain is wisdom, but you have to be able to manage that pain. I even like yesterday, I'm yesterday morning, like brushing Tessa's hair, she begging me like, oh Dad, please don't try and give me a ponytail, don't give me a braid. I don't want it to look too bad. I'm like, no, I'm just gonna put it in this. And Kira's climbing up the table right next to me, and thinking, okay, well I'm right next to her, it's fine. Boom, hits the floor. I'm like, just look at her. She gets up and she's just kind of like, wow, like she's okay. Yep. They learn that stuff, and like that's the kind of lessons that they're gonna learn. Because you can't always be there to be able to catch your kids, but at least you can be there to make sure that once they fall, they're okay. And it's like, all right, well, what did you learn from this?
Sometimes we're hurt more than they are, just from watching the experience of it. I remember my middle boy, Mario, he fell off the bed one time and hit his head on the end table. Brother, I still see it. Like, it's right here. It's still like it happened last week. I think I'm suffering a little bit of trauma. I'm just saying, a little bit.
No, like how your middle child, that was
at the time he was probably, I'm gonna say maybe 5, and we're having a battle royal, right? We're on the big king size bed. We're having battle royal. Dad was elbow smashing them all in the face and putting them through the tables, and it got a little out of hand. I'm not gonna lie, it got a little out of hand, and Mario kind of flew. We couldn't catch him. Bad things happen, and I still see it in my memory bank.
Then especially like when he gets a chair and.
Oh my God, we really used to do that. That's beautiful. It's those memories, brother. It's those memories. I remember we were fishing. It was some months ago, and Rocky is, he's going to be 21 in June.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, he's my oldest boy. You remember him?
I remember Rocky Jr.
Middle school, and and dude, I remember when we don't have a boat, and Rocky loves to airbrush, and he does these lures, and we were fishing off the shore. We go to a state park, and we never catch anything. Really, we catch more with a casting net than we do with our lures, and just because it's off the bank, but that's not the point of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because with my schedule and with his schedule and everything we have going on, we seize opportunities when we can, and they're far and few between sometimes. And I remember he was having a conversation about getting ready to move out, and as a father, you encourage it. I want my children to fail while I'm still alive. I want them to go into the world and make the mistakes while I'm still here, because I got people. We can fix things. We can make things better. But I remember I was standing on the shore, because he likes to walk the shore bank and cast, and I looked over and he was quite a bit of ways. Something hit me different at that time. It was different, because it was that moment that I appreciated that beach differently.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciated the sounds differently. I appreciated the smells differently. I appreciated all the things that we never pay attention to, because my thought process was I was looking at my son, and that could have potentially have been the last day him and I would have been on those shores, because he was thinking about moving back up north. And why is it that we always had to have those moments, and I'm grateful for them, but why is it that we can't program ourselves for that appreciation? Because what we find out, brother, is that we try to do these big things all the time, these big grand things because we want to compete with society. So we want to go on the same vacations our friends did. You know, we feel like we got to compete with that. And none of that matters. It don't. Yeah, it's beautiful to see the ocean. I love watching the sunrises and the sunsets. I really do. But I also love being with my family, right?
Hmm.
Because the things, brother, when I'm going through my darkest times, you know, it's not those things. It's not those trips. It's not these extravagant things that we did we spent all this money thinking that they were great memories. No, they were a pain in our ass is what they were. It was the fishing.
Hmm.
It was the hanging out in the backyard. It was them climbing the tree and me freaking out. It's crazy how you remember the most simplistic things when your soul is at its darkest moments. So people really need to reflect on that, because when you wake up with that morning cup of coffee, that drive to work, the people you talk with every day, we choose to separate ourselves because of beliefs and views. And we never give ourselves the opportunity, and I'm guilty and I'm speaking out because of that,
Hmm.
is that we miss out on amazing friendships because
Yeah,
of
man.
that. And we miss out on amazing conversations because of that. And we're not able to grow as people because of that. And so that's who I choose to be. That's who I want to be. And I'm going to appreciate the drive to work. I'm going to appreciate those moments sitting on the beach with my kids. I'm going to appreciate when I can have my dinners with my children, or just do the littlest things, you know, because I ain't got a lot of life left. And who knows, you know, what's going to happen next week. But right now, I have what I have in front of me, and I'm going to capitalize on it.
You know, that's probably one of the most mature things I've heard come out of your mouth in a very long time. Not to
You
say that
saying
you
I'm
don't see a
immature,
lot.
bro? Wow, Rocky, that was very
We
grown up of you.
That was very grown up of you. That was very grown up of you. You're 100% right. Like, you know, especially with my dad passing away last year, and that was still is an extremely difficult part of my life.
Still going through a lot of processing.
You know, it's still a lot of processing. It's a day by day thing.
Can
Um,
I can I can I dig a little bit, brother? Is it still fresh?
well, man, it's still fresh. Yeah, it's.
I just want to ask at a surface level, without
Mhm.
getting deep. What are the things that come to mind the most when you lose a parent? When you think of dad right now, what's the first memory that comes to mind?
The first memory that comes to mind.
Yes.
Well, it's pretty much the month that I spent with him this summer. You know, there's I'd say like the biggest thing would be him and I getting into a fight over the fact that his his car that was perpetually falling apart and is still falling apart was overheating in the middle of like 40-degree weather. We went to the we went to the store to go get lunch. He's like, "Okay, man, we'll take my car." I'm like, "Dad, I brought my car specifically because your car doesn't run." And it's like, okay, we're gonna go to this one. No, we're gonna go to this one that's further out there. I'm like saying, like, Dad, I took lunch. I'm working from home. Like, I'm gonna get back like an hour late. You know, I'm gonna get get in trouble, get talked to, and in reality, if they had in reality, if my job at the time, and I'm with a very good company now that when they say like family, like the company's family, a lot of companies will BS about that. No, this company doesn't BS about that kind of thing.
Amen,
They take
brother.
care of you.
Amen.
And so, but the company I was working for at the time, it's kind of one of those. It's like, well, you're gonna go take care of your dad. You got to work from home, and they begrudgingly let me go, and I'm sitting there, going. It's like, if you didn't let me go, I would have just up and quit.
Yep. Amen. Yep.
And I would have probably, I would have gone back to freelancing. I'd be making more than I would be, working for you,
Hmm.
and I'd probably be able to spend a lot more time. But him and I got into a fight about the car because I'm thinking like, everything else, not necessarily realizing, hey, this is going to be one of the, like I'd only got like 3 months or 4 months left with the guy, and that was like one of only two disagreements we got into during that entire month. We dealt with the Dureco of 2022 May long weekend, and that was basically going like trying to survive with no power, and crisscrossing the city trying to get supplies. You got a generator over here, you got gas over there, and like that was a really good bonding experience. But like that would be the first thing where it's like it's such a small stupid thing to get into an argument about over like a car, and it's like you're annoyed because your dads or your mom, your parents are going to annoy you. They're going to find that way to be able to do it. That's why they're your parents, because they got that they know how to push your buttons.
Mm.
But like even then, it's still one of those like, well, at least I had the opportunity to be able to do it, because with kids, with work, and I was working insane hours at that point, and just wasn't happy at the time, and my main concern was taking care of my family, taking care of my kids, taking care of my wife,
That's what we
making sure
do.
that was good.
Yeah.
And it's like you look back on it, you're like, wow, that was kind of dumb, but it's like it's an experience that you can actually remember about it. And even with that negative experience, it's still a positive for me, because it's like I actually had it. It
Well, I was going
wasn't.
to say, but was it negative though? I mean,
No, because it's like
you
it's
sit here and you're laughing about it, and your heart is warm over it, and I find that profound, brother. And it warms my heart watching you tell the story, because of most of our stories from an Italian family, that's every day, my brother.
well, it's Croatian
You
family.
know,
That's every day, but you
it's
get
like, hey, ma, shut up. No, I'm sorry, Dad. I was just kidding. I thought it was somebody else.
don't you talk to your mother that way. And it's like, it's like, I take my belt off. I'm like, your pants will fall down, Dad. Don't do that. And then your mom hits you with a sandal or like a wooden spoon. Not that would ever happen.
No, I saw a documentary once. I saw a documentary. But no, I actually, listening to you, I ask you, what it's like. Tell me a memory, and it's amazing, and it was warming my heart watching you say that, because you are telling me a memory that is, for the most part, an everyday event.
Yeah.
Things happen. We chaos all over the damn place, and we're trying to figure things out. Everybody's annoying each other. You just want to smack somebody, and yet here we are. I mean, because of circumstances, potentially, I don't want to speak for you, but you're able to view it differently, right? So my point with that is that, stepping back again, how can we as a society transform ourselves to be able to see those moments in a different set of eyes, like you did with your dad?
Get off social media.
Oh,
Close your Facebook.
but I love my monkey videos, though. I put a monkey on TikTok, brother.
Well,
It's
that's
I'm
the whole
its biggest
thing.
fan.
Well, that's
I
the whole
love it.
thing.
It's
Like,
a spider monkey.
Why do you think everything I post now is memes?
And it writes
It's like,
dogs.
well, like dogs, memes, funny stuff that's happening, funny memories from back in the day.
I always tell people, be the change you desire.
Exactly.
You know?
We as individuals with strong opinions have both thrown out strong opinions, and it's like, this is what I believe in, this is my hill I'm going to die on, and it's like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because the world's just going to keep turning after you're gone, and it's going to be the exact same thing. It's been the same thing for tens of thousands of years.
Amen.
It's going to be the same thing for tens of thousands of years more.
Yep.
Why am I getting angry over something? Why am I allowing somebody else who is at the end of a keyboard, whether it's from an article or whether it's from a social media post or whatever, why am I letting that control my life or tell me how I'm supposed to feel or act towards a certain thing, when in reality it's like most of these problems or most of these issues or most of these subjects, they it's not necessarily that they don't affect me or anybody that I care about, because a lot of the times they do, but it's like I have the choice to be able to make up my own mind. And it's like, an opinion is like having it's like having a sexual appendage. It's great that you got one. Nobody wants you to take it out of your pants and whap you in the face with it. It doesn't it doesn't matter.
What did you just say?
As I said, it's a family show, man. That's the Patreon. It's only fans, yo. Den of Lore only fans. Just
the Den of Lore OnlyFans edition. What were we just talking about? That Den of Lore OnlyFans edition threw me off for a second. I just had a brain thing.
It's just like me with like George Costanza style poses, like on the couch, just no one wants to.
Bro, got chills.
Oh, I know.
Son of gun.
It would make up most of the most of the monthly costs probably for like the five people who. It'll be my wife and
Yeah.
my wife.
Hey, use code wife and it'll go from $9.99 a month to $4.99.
It's like
Hey. Um when I know, brother, you've had a super hard time with your dad, and I've always said since a child, my greatest fear in life is the day I have to say goodbye to both my parents.
mm-hmm.
And I just recently reached 2 years last month, almost exactly a month since I've been down here in Texas. In a lot of ways, I'm not the best communicator. In a lot of ways, and I understand those faults because they are faults. Because we understand the depths and importance of communication. I'm not the best at it. I have this thing, man, and it just gets locked away, bro. I don't know why. Sometimes it's like if I could only sometimes say right here what is right here, I would be a poet, but I don't know how to do it. I don't even know how to start. And it's weird because you turn on a microphone and I can go for 10 hours, right? When I was getting close to making the move to come down here, and things did happen kind of quick. I was trying to find a company that was a good company that could help pay for the move because it's expensive and to help me get kicked off. And things happen. And I didn't communicate it because I was afraid of reaction from family, because I didn't want to hear disappointment. I didn't want to hear disappointment at a time where I was trying to create in my heart, my soul opportunity, because the disappointment from the people you love the most, as much as we want to play hardcore and as much as we want to play thick, it still hurts, man. It hits us differently. And I didn't want to see the sadness in my mom and the sadness of my dad with them being in their 70s that their son was going to get up and leave, So when I left, brother, it's I left with a lot of unresolved communication situations. And even though we love each other and I've gone up there and we visit, we hug and hang out, we talk, and there's always that one part is kind of like the, what do they call that? The whatever in the room, the egg in the room. Elephant in the room, yeah, the egg in the room. That made sense, right?
Well, egg in the room also works too.
But it was, I don't know what was different last. Oh, you know what was different is when I had the stomach issue. Well, a lot of things have changed in my life in last year. We've been through a lot. Lisa and I have been through a lot. We've been trying to do everything we're doing. And then with my stomach issue, and then my heart stopped and everything just stopped for a second. I mean, in life. And I know, brother, I'm not in the place, I'm in where I'm supposed to be, but I realized at the moment that I wasn't spiritually where I was supposed to be. I was physically where I was supposed to be. Because I kept chugging forward like what we do as men and women. We push forward, right? And we bury certain emotions that we feel that could distract us from the ultimate goal. So we find these weird compartments way deep inside that are really difficult to find once you put that stuff away. And because that's our mechanism as a survival mechanism to make sure that when we get up the next morning that those feet are moving in front of one another because we got people to feed, So with that experience in the hospital with my stomach, and I went 4 months. There were 3 months. I'm sorry. I went 3 months because they messed up the surgery. In chronic pain, bro. And I couldn't gain weight. I couldn't eat food. There would be 2 or 3 days at a time I'd be in my bathroom on the floor because we didn't realize it at the time, but I had intestines that were crushed.
Oh, geez, man.
And there's a nerve when they did the first surgery that actually healed into the mesh, which then created a whole neurological world mess, bro. In the whole area, bro. And it was just, it put me in some dark places, man. pain does things,
Mm-hmm.
and stomach pain I never had before. And this was the first time ever I experienced this. And when I went into the hospital last time, I was so bloated, they actually had to put things down my throat to relieve pressure any way they could, you know? But it was when I woke up after the surgery that night, and I woke up and the room was packed. It was packed full of doctors, man. I'm like, what? And at first I was freaking out because I forgot where I was because everything stopped. Everything stopped. Nobody knows why. It just said, I'm going to stop. And the reason the room was so packed is because they did a code call throughout the hospital. So any available hands, any doctors and nurses, they, get the room Stucci immediately. And they had to bring me back. And then I'm like, I'm 49 years old. I'm going to be 50 years old and going pretty hard, Chris. I'm going pretty hard. And I want to make sure I'm not losing value. But when I went up north and I sat with dad and I sat with mom, I spent the whole weekend with my mom and dad. I went up there for a funeral and I spent the whole weekend just with my mom. I didn't want to do anything else. I didn't want to go anywhere. I love everybody, man. And they get mad at me. They think I'm a bad person. But there's certain things I need to do for me. My life isn't always about the world. There's my life too that needs to be addressed. And me and my dad, we played cribbage the whole weekend. The whole weekend we played cribbage. And without speaking a word in regards to what we want to say deep in our soul in those compartments, we didn't need to because it was being communicated.
Mm-hmm.
Because I knew everything his soul was saying to me sitting at those tables playing cribbage. And he knew what I was saying. And I cried a lot, bro. And saying goodbye to my parents just this recent time, I'm not good at them. I'm not good at them in the first place. But this one was different, man, because I'm always afraid that it's going to be my last time. And when I got up at 1 o'clock, my dad promised me he wasn't going to get up. I didn't want to say goodbye to him twice because I know how brothers out there wish they would still have that opportunity to say goodbye. But when I woke up, I heard him walking upstairs. He already had coffee made. He already had snacks. He went and got snacks for me, man. Sometimes we don't know how to show our emotions. And my dad went his whole life doing that because my dad's always been a foot soldier. There's some things I can't say, but, a Vietnam vet, he's been shot. He's been blown up. I just celebrated 34 years of sobriety. The things he's been through, it's amazing. But through all those experiences, he learned to become a different creature. He became a creature of habit. He became a creature of survival. He became a creature of instinct. But he never became the creature of who he truly wanted to be because he was surviving a world to make sure the people he loves are taken care of. And they have the opportunity. He don't. That's what we do as parents. And when he said goodbye to me that night, dude, I'll tell you. When he said goodbye to me that night, that hug, I don't ever in my life remember my dad hugging me that strong, but that hard. It was terrible. And the thing is when I cried, it's weird how parents can bring the child out in us because, brother, I was crying like a little kid.
Yeah, man.
And so, people like you really need to know that people like me see you're saying this and how much you miss somebody you love. And I value that. And I'll make sure I value it with what I still have the opportunity to value. And I hope people can put the world away and put all the material reasons why we disassociated ourselves with people. And just stop and just figure out a way to live. I don't think that's really that difficult. We need to stop investing in things that no longer spiritually benefit us. And when we do that, brother, we become toxic. And we ain't doing any good to any cause we claim to represent. That's all.
No, that makes total sense. If you're identifying with an ideal and that ideal's doesn't add anything to the world, it's are you really leaving the world a better place than the way you had it? You know, like especially with like my family, like my parents, they came here, like basically from, you know, from a country that wasn't exactly in the best, the best condition for, freedom of thought, freedom of expression.
Right.
And like my parents, when they came here, they wanted to, like, well, first of all, the main thing was just like get the heck out of there. Um, and also, it's like, okay, well, if we're gonna have a family, like we can't bring them up in this environment. We can't bring them up in an environment where if they say the wrong thing, or just because of their last name, or just because of, their lineage, however many, you know, generations back is gonna put a target on their back, or they're gonna be blacklisted or not be able to work, or constantly having secret police knocking on your door. It's like they didn't want to have that kind of environment for my sister and for myself, and they came to Canada. Um, you know, they didn't have they had family. That was basically it. The skills that they learned that were transferable. My mom, thankfully, spoke English, but my dad, he wasn't the what to say, wasn't the most profound linguist on the planet
Right.
when it
Right.
came to words. What he said was usually pretty profound, but
The words that they learned meant something.
it
They
was
meant something because there's a message behind it.
mhm. Take care of your health. Your health is what's going to keep you going forward. But like my dad, he you vaping too, brother?
I was just gonna ask you, what's your flavor, bro?
No, that's this is from manufactured here in Ottawa. It's called Sun. And again, it's not a sponsor of the show. It's called Sunken Barrel. It's
Okay.
finally back in stock. It's kind of like a caramel with like some
Oh.
hazelnut and like a rich. It's yeah, it's nice. It's nice.
The way you said it though, man, I got chills a little bit. He's a caramel with a little hazelnut, a little smoky, rich flavor and aroma through the pipelines.
Well,
Okay, well, I got blue ice, bro. I got blue raz ice up in my menthol.
there you go. Well, yeah, menthol. I mean,
So what
everyone's
the
going.
reason for this, brother, is because I'm trying to supplement because again, I got more health concerns. And I don't talk about that ever. That's actually the first time I've said that on public platform. But um, been having issues with my breathing, and I've been smoking since I've been a teenager. I'm going to be 50 years old, so I got issues. I already know I do. I mean, overall, general health is pretty good, but I still have some continuing issues going on that hasn't
Mhm.
been resolved with my stomach yet. And so I need to kind of reinvest. And again, why do we always wait until something breaks? It's just what we do as humans. But I need to kind of reinvest in some of my habits and make sure that, I'm around as long as I physically can. Hey, brother, I've come to a conclusion and I'm okay. I'm not saying it and it's not a bad thing. But, brother, I put myself through a lot of stuff, man. I put my body through a lot in my
Yeah.
life. And whew, I don't know. I don't know how much I took away, through all these years of doing the things I've done. So
Likewise. Yeah, I know. I know.
I just wanted what I got left. I just want to try to maximize that as much as I can. I want to see your baby grow up. I want to see my boys have babies. I want to see
Mhm.
my friends' families have families. I want to see all that. To me, brother, that is what it's about. It's kind of weird. You ever go where you grew up as a kid?
Yeah, all the time.
You ever like just touch a tree that you used to touch when you were a kid?
I did that once. That was a long time ago. Well, like a long time. I was maybe like 25 or 26, and I went out to like the forest area behind the park where we play fort as a kid.
Play fort, bro.
Oh
I
yeah,
played
like
fort
yeah,
too.
well yeah, and it's like you got two forts. You got like you and your friends have like a group, and another group of people have their own group, and like you have to play war, and it's basically just a bunch of 10-year-olds hitting each other with sticks in a field.
Ugh.
It's great.
I had the best stick machine gun on the planet, bro. Dude, you should see how
Oh
many
jeez.
bullets a second that thing could shoot.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we didn't have anything that advanced. It was mostly just
Advanced. I
uh,
knew people. I knew people. I knew the stick manufacturers actually. So
broom handles wrapped in electrical tape. And
that
it wasn't gang related. It was just like like we got our fort, they got their fort. We're just gonna go out and battle, and
running and rolling through the grass, because
basically, and
shooting
then
at you.
we beat the crap out of each other, and then we go play baseball. It's it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, we got first up at bat. Okay, it's great. But like no, like it's like where I grew up is on my way into my mom's house now. So like a couple week, say a couple weeks. I'd say within like the last couple month or so. Like I'm in the car, and my oldest, she's like, so it's like, what's this place? And we got to talking, and all of a sudden she's like, well, where did you grow up, Dad? I'm like, well, let me tell you at this place.
Right.
Like, you want to go see it?
Right.
And it's like, okay, so like we'll go drive through the hood, and it was not the most glamorous neighborhood on the planet. We'll say that much. It was basically it was the projects.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
when you're growing up, and it's like, okay, well, just driving through, like, this is where I waited for the bus, and this is where
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
played. This is the rock we used to throw our bikes off of.
Oh, that's right.
Um,
I love that.
and I'm like, okay, like, well, what about where'd you live? And then drive by the house, and like, you see that tree that's like this huge, huge, 3-story tall, like, redwood, like just massive. Well, it's a pine, but they never cut it down. It's like it's now like 3 to 4 stories tall, in this
Yeah.
small little yard in the front. They got to cut the branches now to be able to make
That's
sure that
crazy,
it's
man.
not going into the house. And I'm like,
Wow.
when we moved into this house, when your aunt and me moved into this house with your grandmother and your grandfather, that tree was like this as tall as I am right now. She's like, wow, you must be 1,000,000 years old. I'm like, oh, geez, thanks, appreciate it, honey. You
No
know.
filter at all. No filter at all.
So like, yeah, like, man,
I,
you go through like those memory lanes, and like you're trying to be able to show, like, hey, this is where we grew up, and this is what we were like when we were kids, when we were your age, and this is what we used to be able to do, and
we were way cooler than this generation. We knew things. That's what I tell my kids, that our generations were way more badass than theirs.
like, how to be able to rewind a cassette tape with a
Bro, they
pencil.
don't understand, bro. You ever do the spin?
Oh, of course, man. It was the fastest. That was fast forward to rewind. If you want to save your Walkman batteries, they're like, what's a Walkman?
That big old thing you put on your freaking hip when you're walking down the street, okay? I went up, it was about a year ago. I went up and I brought Ron Phillips with me because we had to film it for something. And I gave Ron the tour. I brought him to the old East Side. That's where I was born. I was born on the east side of St. Paul, and it's a tough town. It was all Italians when my dad was a kid, and then it started changing when I was a kid there. But it was a tough town, but we didn't know it was a tough town. That was home. We would ride our bikes at night. Things would be happening, and we didn't know any different because we weren't told that wasn't normal. That was just the way we knew things. But when I brought Ron and we walked down the street that I grew up on, and we went to different areas, I reminisced about it differently. It's like a baby when a baby gets the sucker taken away.
Oh God.
It kind of so it's not like I got my home taken away, but when you move away, you all of a sudden that disconnect, something that you're used to always having access to whenever you wanted it to, all of a sudden that disconnect is there. And so it's like every time I go home, there's certain areas this is like, I just want to go and just stand there or go sit on this wall. And I don't know why I have such an attachment right now to the old neighborhood, my youth. Is it depression, bro?
I don't. It's not. I don't think it's depression. It's this nostalgia, and it's like there was this old Greek guy that I used to work for when I started as a copywriter, and that's Mad Men. I'm not going to tell that story, but it's like it's the pain from an open wound. Like it's those longing for those things that were gone before, and that's why you see like all of these movies that are remakes of movies that were popular when we were kids. Like Transformers, and like sure as heck that if, well, not you, because you're a couple of years older than me, not too many, but you're a couple of years older than me. And it's like I remember like the first time I watched Optimus Prime die, from the original Transformers movie.
Bro.
Man, that just like that destroyed
Bro.
me. And it's like they try and pull that with the Michael Bay movies, and you're like, it just doesn't hit the same, like, but they do that to try and try and rekindle those feelings you have from when you're younger.
Hey, brother, did you ever see the TV series on History Channel, The Vikings?
I
like a
think I got
series?
like maybe like 2 episodes into the first season, and
Oh,
I'm like,
oh, okay. I watched every season about
well,
30,347 times. Can probably recite every, you know, word in there. But yeah, when somebody died in that movie or that show, dude, it hit me,
mhm.
man. It hit me, bro. I mean, like, I think I'm still kind of going through some damage in my face. It's like I didn't find justification in it, and I wish I would have been there to protect them. But that's war when you're a Viking. Things happen, I guess.
Like Vikings, space robot Vikings. Like you get those like those things where it's okay. Well, it's the understanding of like your
What's a space robot Viking?
well, it's a transformer. You know,
Oh, good point.
hey, Optimus Prime had a sword, yo. Okay,
Bro, he did.
it was an energy sword. You only pulled it out
More
in like a
than
couple.
meets the eye. Do you watch the Transformer cartoons when you were little?
Heck yeah, man.
Bro, those are the good old days, man.
You remember Mask? Anybody else remember Mask?
With Rocky Dennis?
I'm not too sure, but it was like Transformers in GI Joe, where you
Hmm.
had like this guy who had like it was a Camaro or a Firebird that turned into a plane. Like the gull wing doors would come up, and he had like laser. You know,
No.
yeah, it was another toyetic, Hasbro commercial like show that just was there to hawk toys, which is basically like, okay, let's put some impressionable youth in front of a half an hour cartoon that just never ends and get their
All right.
parents to buy the stuff.
One more
But
cartoon reference.
all right, go on.
Because I still have questions. I've always had concerns about this one. But in reference to the Smurfs, I've
Mm-hmm.
always had questions why there's only one female Smurf in a village of like 400 of them.
It's
What does she
best
do?
not to think about these kind of things.
Is there a
Um,
subliminal message there somewhere?
I'm thinking, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Why are they
Where's
all?
where's Grandma Smurf? That's the next
Why are
question.
they? That's what I'm saying, bro. And why are they all blue? But anyways, that's just some thoughts I have. When I'm walking by myself.
Maybe if you're thinking about like that kind of thing, it's like why is it that there was like this guy with a receding hairline trying to turn them into gold all the time? And what was with his cat?
Bro, what's your thoughts on the Mandela effect?
I think it's just because we tend to misremember things, but I don't think it's like anything. Like it's a alternate reality. I honestly, it could be. I don't know, man. But
It could be what you're saying too, because it's the human brain, is pretty easily. If we don't know 100% and somebody just tells us, most people are just going to be like, oh yeah, totally. But there was a couple that tripped me out. There was a couple because there was one brother. I'm just going to say this. He was a local chef on the local news
mhm.
up home where I lived, and I've watched him for years locally. Everybody knew him. His name was Andrew Zimmerman, and now it's Andrew Zim, and I can't find any reference anywhere on this planet of him being Andrew Zimmerman. And I
every
don't know what to say about this.
well, every single time you remember something, you're not actually remembering the event. You're remembering the last time you remembered it.
Oh,
So every single time you recall it, you're basically recalling the last recall. And if you do that too many times, and you're like, it's not you're making a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. So you're essentially just kind of messing up that memory to it, like not really messing the memory up, but
so that's how false realities are created.
yeah, pretty much. At least
So
that
we're
would be the best way
filtering
that
of
I
the
can think about it.
filters. Bro, we just came down with some stuff, bro. We just worked together as a team and came up with something. Feel pretty good about
Super
this.
friends assemble, in the shape of, you know, in the form
In the
of,
shape of, in the
uh,
form of. I was just trying to think of a quick form.
yeah, it's a little bit. Well, you're Central Time. Are you Mountain Time or Central Time now?
I'm central. I
Okay,
was wondering about that reference because I had to Google it. I was like, what's GMT? I had to Google it. Don't worry about it, bro.
GMT. It's the new DMT,
The
which
DMT.
the DMT. It's the it's the off brand. It's the PC Cola of DMT.
I just want to say a big shout out to Miss Audrey. Love you.
And she's
Kind of.
been amazing helping me out, keep the ship going, and bouncing ideas off of. She's like, it's like, it's like this is going to be a slow process and a slow build up. She's like, that's fine. I got my own things going on. I'm like, don't worry, work and family come first. And that was one of my someone I'm running another podcast with, more on like the business side of things.
Mm-hmm.
He just instilled that idea into me. He's a great mentor, like from like business and just business operations,
Great people to have, man.
and just even just being like a cool dude to
Mm-hmm.
like learn stuff of, who's been there, done that, and a million times over. Um, and it's like, no, it's like if we're gonna take this, take this to a new level. Started from the bottom, now we're here. And like literally now we're on the same couch that the show started on, with a deep freeze and a nice bottle of champagne, which I forget exactly. This was actually, I believe, my father gave this to me.
I'm
Uh,
a deep thinker, bro. I'm a deep thinker because
so
what you just said. There's some profoundness to what you just said. And so let me put this together.
go for it, man.
All right, because I know. So I don't know even know how long I've been doing radio. I don't know for sure. 8 years maybe, some 8 9 years, maybe a little bit longer, shorter. I don't know. But there's been many times where we push really hard, where we dialed
There we
in, bro. You know what I'm saying? We dialed
go.
in hard, and we devoted every breathing extra available second we had of our life to push, to promote, to show prep,
Mm-hmm.
to in our drives. And now I look back, and now knowing what I know now, and being around the people that I know now at a completely different business level, 99% what I was doing back in the day by chasing the Facebook stuff and some of the content I was doing and how I was doing it and what I was allowing, it was destroying me. It wasn't helping me at all. And then it also started affecting family life, work
Mm-hmm.
life, and everything else. And then before you know it, you got this snowball effect and you got turmoil.
Oh,
And
well, that's pretty much it. You
yeah,
know,
but your
like,
vision now, the way you just said it, see, now that's when things happen, brother, because everything in my life, and we'll get to it, but there was not one day, and shame on me, did I ever fathom going to what we're going to be going to this year. And I can break it all down in any way you want, brother, but, and shame on me for creating a limit, because I was just proven wrong of my own behavior, that limits are a figment of our imagination. But my mindset was completely different going into this
well,
with different
yeah.
expectations.
Well, you create your own limits on yourself.
Mm.
With again, that just, it comes down to fear. A lot of it. It comes down to past convention. It comes down to one's own biases, that whether you're talking about biases of ability or biases of intelligence, or just your own doubts about how much you can endure to get somewhere, or what you think that or how hard something actually is, and it's not that hard. And that'll put barriers in your own way to be able to achieve it. And like we can, like, even with like this show, like before we hit, we were doing like very well back in like 2016, 2017. And like I'm sitting there like going like, wow, man, the world has changed like five
Oh,
times over since then.
dude, that was kind of painful just hearing that year because it seems so freaking long ago, but it seemed like yesterday.
Well, I know. Yeah, well, you got COVID, you got like all of like the 3 years where just everything just shut down. And
Oh,
like now, things are starting to open back up, and things are starting to go in more of a new
right.
normal way, or at least relatively back to the fact we can go up and around and not have to worry about any type of restrictions or anything like that, or whatever. Uh, but like that entire time, because it was essentially the same thing every single day, or through most days, everything just blurred right together.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, I closed my eyes and opened it. It's like all of a sudden, like, wow, this, the one kid's, in dance recital, and the other
Right.
one's actually here, and
It's
and running
wild, man.
around. And it's like, what happened?
Climbing tables.
Climbing tables, throwing
Oh,
stuff. Oh, she's got a
Ooh,
personality on her. Oh man. Oh
you
man.
got Legos? You got Legos in the house?
She's not much of a Lego kid.
Oh, that's a good thing.
She's more of a no. Even with she's more of like a physical running and jumping.
Oh,
Tess is the my oldest is uh, she's the artist.
okay.
So the youngest one she's gonna be the musician, and together they're gonna have like a band where one designs the albums and the other one actually produces the music. And then I can manage,
Thinking
and
of
together
starting a
we can
band with
wholesale
Brother
it.
Chris. So we can wholesale it. He said, we can package something up. We got you covered. Just tell me what you need. You need artwork, you need some music. We got you covered.
You need some beats, you need a ghostwriter. It's fine. It's good.
Oh, that's right. You do that too.
Not so much anymore, but
You do
like
ghostwriting?
no, just like writing in general. Like jack of all trades, master of a few of them. Kind of like you. You're a man of the world. You do pretty much everything.
Master or what you just said.
Jack of all trades, master of a few.
Damn fact. Damn fact. I am actually looking for a ghostwriter though.
Chat GPT.
I want you.
No, man, let's. You get me. You're also getting Chat GPT. I appreciate that, but
I'm having the hardest time. So I started writing my book probably 4 years ago. And what I ended up doing, Chris, is I had my recorder. And I just sat there with my recorder out in my backyard smoking a cigar and just talking about the certain highlights, the highlighted parts of my life I want to talk about.
Mhm.
Because I can't type and think. I can't type. I'm a professional during the day, brother. I'm a professional. And I still type with these two things right here. Come on, all day, all day. What am I talking about again?
adult
Professional.
ADHD.
Dude, we are the master, and this is the talk radio of ADHD. ADHD of talk radio.
This is the brain's a weird thing, man.
What was I just talking about?
You were talking about ghostwriting, and I said
Oh
you
yeah.
wanted me to
So
ghostwrite for you. I'm like, I could do that, but you're getting also Chat GPT because
yeah,
you
my
know.
my brain, it goes at a way different wavelength than what my output is. And when I try to speak, I'm trying to reach an emotional level and I'm trying to use the right words. And when I'm sitting there trying to worry about typos and all that crap at the same time, I can't do that kind of stuff, man. I know people that sit there and they type and they have conversations with you and it freaks me out. I think they're possessed. I'm just saying a little bit. They may need to.
I hit the mouse and
Oh.
everything goes squirrely.
So I need, and it was meant to be that it wasn't written 2 years ago because I'm literally in my final chapter right now. My final chapter is just about complete. And so
Have you looked at Otter AI? Because like man, the things nowadays when it comes to like this is going on to the whole tech because I actually had like at least to get organized now like organized. The studio is essentially my old couch in a disassembled completely like oh man I got boxes and stuff piled up all over the place behind this.
but
So
here
for anybody who's out there, I'm right now on a laptop on one laptop stand, and I've got my old 32-inch monitor on another laptop stand with like spaghetti wires, and this is my old microphone from the office. I told you it was going to be a little jank for the next couple of
Little
weeks
jank.
till we move to the new house, but we're doing it. We're doing it. And what was I talking about again? Oh, that's right,
Yes, you
AI.
did. You did.
Damn it. So it's what you get with technology nowadays, and that's right I was talking about. I actually prepare now for my shows. I do like all the written stuff. I do like talking points that I can go through. I try and keep things organized. Technology was something that I was told would be a good idea to talk about, and with the stuff they have out now with something called Otter AI, not a sponsor. I use it for other podcasts that I do, and if I'm doing transcripts, I'll take the MP3, I'll dump it into the system. It will transcribe the entire thing. I think it's about 1,200 minutes worth of audio. I can do off of $8 a month. I think it's like $9. You can do it for 100 US. If you sign up, it's like 50% off, and it'll do 1,200 minutes a month. And then at that point, all you need to do is just go through and edit. So if you want to be able to just sit there and record your thoughts and put it into an AI transcriber, and it's real good. Like it's real good. It'll even provide outlines, the whole thing. And you can essentially write your book long form that way, give to an editor. They'll put the entire thing down. You're counting out. Why are you counting out?
Okay, so I can almost get
It's $10 a month.
that's
10.
cheap.
Not
That's cheap.
9, not
No,
5,
I
not
was
0.
thinking that if
10.
you get that many minutes a month, how many 1 hour shows can you do?
60 minutes. Well, I think it
Did I get like 16 or
was
17?
about 10 imports that you can do off of that level, I think. The free, I think, is about 3 with 300 minutes. So, and you can even just record directly to it, or you can use it for Zoom. You can use it for anything. But like, there's several services that are out there
Seriously,
that you can do
Audrey
that
just
with.
said, brother, Audrey just said Rocky doesn't do notes for his shows. It's kind of been a thing for at least 8, 9 years.
That's because
When you
Rocky is
said,
that damn good.
brother,
Okay,
I had a
he's
post
interviewing me
note.
on my own show. Like,
What, bro? What?
well, you kind of were. You asked the questions, and I'm just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna get deep introspective.
Brother, we're brothers, man.
Well,
So we
man,
have.
yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. It's like you've, dude, it's like yeah. Well, you never need show notes. I used to never need show notes. Of course, I would also be drinking like a 26er of Glenfiddich
That's right.
12 with
That's right. I remember that, brother.
like those are the good old days when I didn't have
Yeah.
kids and I wasn't married.
Woo.
Oh geez, yeah, like I can't go hard like that anymore.
I remember, man. They do used to put some down. I remember sometimes, man. Some of those shows go like 4 hours.
6.
Yeah.
The longest we did was at least the actual Denalore show. I think it was like 5, 6 years ago for the Great John Anthony West when we
Yeah.
did the John Anthony West experience and we had everybody on at that point. And we went 8 or 9 hours, I think, and like that got messy. Oh my goodness! Oh, that got a
That's,
little bit messy.
that's marathon level right there,
I
brother.
do not ever recommend to anybody out there never mix Scotch and Coke Zero because that will not end well for anybody.
Ooh.
Um, yeah, no, I found that out the hard way. See
Oh,
now I stick to beer and I have like some sparkling water over there, and that's basically it. I've got one drink during the show, and then I cut it off at that because like, I gotta get up like at 6 o'clock. I gotta go to Home Depot. I gotta get some building materials and stuff like that before going to work. And but even then, it's like yeah, no, I could go on and on because like you get that like we're gonna drink scotch and we're gonna find Atlantis.
oh, I'm all about Scotch and Atlantis,
Well,
man.
man, it's like hey, man, Herodotus, he was like past the gates of Hercules.
Do
There's
you
this
believe in Atlantis?
island.
Do you believe Atlantis was real?
Like, dude, I would say okay. So here's the thing. This is the thing. I I like to come up with my own mind about stuff, and
Hmm.
like I can build off of other people's ideas for my own opinions, and say okay, and I can say like this is worthwhile, or this is this doesn't have any merit. At least it's not logical. I would say at least it's a possibility, but I wouldn't say that it is not aliens, crystals, UFOs, Vimanas, or whatever Graham. Don't send me an email, Graham, if you get mad at me. I don't think necessarily that it was, to the extent that Graham Hancock says. Is it somewhere in between? Was it just like some Paleolithic people on an island? I don't know. I wasn't there. I would say there's at least something that we should look into,
Hmm.
but there's a lot of people who've done a lot of schooling who know a little bit more about archaeology and about history than I know, who know a few things, and I'm like, maybe they also have a point. So
I
I'd say it's
found it
possible.
interesting. Right. And I found it interesting too. And I wonder, because when you go back to, what was it, 15,000 BC, and we
Hmm.
talk about the sea levels, and I can't remember exactly the time. It was right around the Göbekli Tepe time. But the sea levels were much lower at that time.
Yeah, it
And
was
then,
about 400 feet lower, give or take.
right. And then you hear about, with that amount of sea level being gone, how much more like the state of Florida would be exposed. So you think of how many civilizations, with the rise of oceans, right? How many civilizations have we not yet explored?
Well, and that's like even around the east coast of the U.S. You go out like half a mile or so into the shallower waters, they will find like not necessarily at that range, but you'll find like spear points, tips, and evidence of people who were on the shoreline. So yeah, like yeah, because we as humans, because very intelligent, we're also dumb. We tend to build near sources of water, and sometimes that does some interesting things when cataclysms, tsunamis, asteroid impacts, what have you. Those settlements tend to get wiped out, and then the survivors move further inland, or they go to find another body of water that
All I need
isn't.
to do is watch one of those tsunami videos that's on YouTube from the Boxing Day tsunami. All I
Mhm.
got to do is watch one of those, brother, and I'm good right where I'm at. I'm good. I got time if there's a tsunami near me because I got like 4 hours.
Well, yeah, like you're like where are you at now? Like you're not Houston,
I'm Dallas,
Dallas.
Dallas.
Okay.
Yep. So it's about 4 hours to the coast.
So, like, even within, like, yeah, you got 4 hours to the coast. You're not going to have a tsunami like, unless you're dealing with a space rock that's
Yep.
13, 14 miles wide.
Right.
Like the Chicxulub impact crater. That you'd have to worry about. Your average, you know, maybe you'd have to worry about. Well, again, at that point, you're gone anyway. If it were to
Is
hit
that the
Mexico.
biggest crater that we have on record for the planet?
No, the biggest crater we have. I do not know the name of it. I know that there is one in Africa, which is I think the impact crater is like 100 some miles across. I don't
Jesus.
and like but this was also created like 2 billion years ago, so it's so old that you can't even really tell that it's a crater because it's been so weathered at this point.
And
Like
what's even size though, right? So that's big to us just because we're measuring everything based off of our calculation. But relatively speaking, that's probably just not even a speck of dust in space's terms. You know what I mean?
well, space is really big,
A little
as we
bit.
know.
It's kind of
It's
roomy.
really that's why they call it space.
A lot of it. A lot of
Because there's a
it.
lot of it, uh, and you're dealing with like the galactic lottery if something actually hits that large. And back then, the rocks were a lot bigger because there's a lot more of them, and obviously since then they've hit other bodies in the solar system, or they've just been flung out of the solar system. But we don't know because there's still massive rocks that are out there, 200 kilometers, 50
Right.
kilometers, and it's a matter of time until something decides to come our way. How long it is, it might not be in our lifetime, might be in 2046. We don't know.
I was just watching one of those science programs, and they were talking about the James Webb Telescope,
Yeah.
and that it has some of the most, for one, profound pictures I've ever seen in my life. And the explanation of the vastness of it, when they do the thumbnail and
Mm-hmm.
everything, that thumbnail, there's 500 little dots are all universes, all within that little tiny space in that view. But it said that it captured these galaxies so far back in time, reaching near dates of what they would, the big
Mm-hmm.
old Big Bang thing. But now it's creating conversations, I guess, is the best way. And this would be something you probably understand a lot more than me because I don't know a lot about this stuff. But they're saying because of the vastness of the size of these universes so far back in time, if
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean, that it's making them question some of their theories in regards to when certain things happen in the history of this universe.
Well, and that's kind of one of the interesting things. Is I remember because yeah, like I not that I know enough, but I do listen to a few podcasts
Mhm.
out there. John Michael Gaudier, respect, brother. Um, it, it one of the only thing that I've been able to find out about it, or at least heard about it, is like they're so large back then, and like they're looking back so far. It's like, how is it that these galaxies, like one of the galaxies that they found, was so large that it's essentially the size of our entire local group from like Andromeda, like think Andromeda to like the furthest point of Andromeda to the farthest point of the Milky Way, and the exact opposite. That's how big it is. And like and Andromeda's going to crash to the Milky Way in what is it, like 500 million years, a billion years. It's inching ever closer. Imagine a galaxy that large
Wow.
with a supermassive black hole that is so massive that it, like, just the black hole itself contains enough mass that it basically would equal the Milky Way. Like that's like that's probably off, but that's basically the kind of scales we're talking about here. And the question that they keep asking is, why is it that we do not find them within our area if space is supposed to be uniform? Because that, on the largest scale, space is supposed to basically be the same everywhere if you get to a large enough of a scale. But it's like we're only finding these galaxies at the earliest points in time, and we're not finding them at this point. It's like, why is that? Like, what is, and that's like, to me, that kind of
You
freaks
think
me
it would be
out.
the opposite, right? You think it would be the opposite,
Yeah.
right? Like the baby universes would be. Oh man, I don't know, brother. See, again, when Ron was trying to explain it to me that these universes are in the past,
Hmm.
I'm like, okay. And then, not to sound dumb, because I get light speed and all that, I get all that, but it's still kind of a trip to think about, because I even mess around. I'm like, so when you fly to Australia, are you traveling in time because you're moving with the Earth?
Kind of, yeah. Well, you're out of sync a little bit. Like, let me
Like
take a step
you
back
take
here.
off at 11 o'clock a.m., but you land at 11 o'clock a.m.
It's mostly because you're moving at a certain speed. Like if theory of relativity, you're moving at a relativistic speed to everything else. So, like, yeah, there is a slight delay in time, but we're talking at fractions of a fractions of a unit of time that are so small it's not that big of a difference. It's more if you're up in orbit. It's more if you're traveling at light speed, obviously. Um, but it's one of the things we don't like think about. It always pisses me off. I'm going to say, I can actually say that because we're past like 30 seconds. If you swear in the first 30 seconds, they demonetize you, I think now, or they might have reversed that. But it pisses me off when, you get all these science podcasts where, like, where are the aliens, man?
Mm-hmm.
We've looked everywhere and we don't see the aliens. And not one of these shows, not one of these, like, not one of these videos is ever saying, well, relativistically, we're looking at something at the other side of the galaxy, which is 10,000 light years away, and we're not finding anything. Well, 150 years ago, we were still using horses and carriage.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the moon. We went from the first flight to, Kitty Hawk to landing on the moon within the same 30 or 40 years. And then we
Very
had two
wild,
world
man.
wars, in that span of time. Like, we went
Well,
from,
we really made a mess with technology, didn't we?
well, to a certain extent, yeah, but it's at least be able to look at our civilization went like for thousands and thousands of years of very small incremental change
Yeah.
to all of a sudden
Yeah.
very rapid change. We're now at the point where we've got, you know, AI language models that can create content and poems and bios, with hundreds and hundreds of words, which would take at least about 20 minutes to an hour for an average person to be able to do it, like non-stop perfect. Then you got to edit and all this stuff, and it does it relatively perfectly, very quickly. We've gone to that point within 150 years to no electricity, still using fire for warmth, getting around on horses. The only communication, at least 150 years ago, would have been telegram. But like that's the level of advancement that we've gone, and
What
we think about
expedited
where are the
this?
aliens, and it's like, where do you think they are 10,000 years ago when we've gone that distance in 150? And we're trying to say, like, well, within our local group, like 100 years, we're not seeing anything. Do we even know how they're communicating? Are they using, something beyond just radio signals that we're listening for to be able to communicate? Is it laser? Are we talking some type of, quantum computing technology that we have not discovered or gotten to yet?
Mhm.
And how many civilizations, like, even, we don't even know past 10,000 years
Right.
in our own time.
Right.
Like, I was like, well, man, was there an ancient civilization? Like, you asked me, do you believe in Atlantis? I'm like, I don't know, I wasn't around that long. But you had, like, the Babylonians, you had like, several Chinese empires rise and fall. You had the Mongolians, you had, the Romans, you had the Merovingians, you had, like, the Holy Roman Empire, you had, like, the Franks, the Ottoman Empire, and however many other civilizations or societies that we don't know of, or that we only have, like, small remnants of.
Mhm.
um, and that happened within the last 3 to 4 or 5,000 years, from, like, let's say, Babylon to now. And we've had these rises and falls within society, and we've only got to the point now where we have advanced technology where you're in Dallas and I'm in Ottawa. We're like 3-4 thousand miles apart. I'll use from American viewers, and we're talking basically instantaneously. Whereas before, like even with telegrams, you got to go to a guy, give him a piece of paper. He's gonna type in the machine. Someone's got to listen, write it down, and then put it on a horse and get it out there. But we're doing it instantaneously. How is it? We know that some planet out there has had the exact same thing happen, but it's happened over and over and over again within that 10 or 15,000 years, and we're just not listening or seeing it in a place. And even if they have that information or that technology now, if they're at that level now that they can talk to us, it's going to be another 10,000 years for that information to get to us. And nobody mentions this. And they're like, where are the aliens? Well, damned if I know, because I'll be dead by the time that stuff gets here. But why do I care? You know?
Everybody wants immediate results. They don't want to wait for shit to travel 10,000 miles, or
Well,
10, whatever you just said.
you figure out, or you find somebody to upload our consciousness into a computer, and
Ooh.
then we can just like stick around the internet watching cat videos, for the next 10,000 years. There's
Okay,
probably that much on there.
Let me ask you something, man. Speaking of that, we had this discussion a while back when we're starting to talk about the downloading of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking at a soul level now. Let's say somebody died and we had technology to somehow bring that person back, whether it's back in their own body or transfer their consciousness into something else, whether it be a computer or another physical living, breathing thing. Does that individual still have it? If you believe that we have souls, does that soul transfer with the technology, or once your original existence is gone, does your soul move on and now you're just kind of a robot of memory?
Well, that's getting into a very theological style of discussion.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Now, my spirituality is pretty complex. Like I can believe in organized religion as a moral code that could be used by a less advanced, logical thinking civilization that's just trying to get by and try and create some order to try and live a somewhat of a better life, or at least a life that's more cohesive to making sure that one village isn't constantly burning the other village down, because you can't really live that way. You can, it's just not fun. So, like I would say, like the Bible way of saying a soul, maybe a lot more complex than that. But you're also like looking into philosophical discussions, like the ship of Theseus. At least I think it's the ship of Theseus. Could be wrong. Somebody out there can correct me. Where it's like if you got a boat and you're constantly replacing parts of that boat. Once you replace all the parts, and even if the boat looks the same, is it the same boat? You know, I don't know. Like that's that's a complex question, because even if you upload somebody's consciousness to, let's say, a computer and then download it to a body, are you able to, or like we don't even know what consciousness is. Is it something that goes beyond just electronic impulses in the brain, or are we talking about something on like it's a multi-dimensional level? Or are we talking about like a some type of quantum entanglement, or the word quantum gets the quantum. It's the buzzword now. It's quantum.
Oh,
Sounds
there's so
cool.
many
Sounds
different
so sexy.
directions. There's so much. It is a
But
very theoretical conversation, but it's a fascinating one.
if well, how's the thing? Like if you downloaded your brain, would you be worried about if your would you worry about if your emotions would get transferred or not?
You can't download my brain, bro.
Well, man, maybe I want to. It's a very beautiful
Mm,
thing,
no.
Just saying, you got to get that mind out there.
Mm.
But like that's something like do you ever think about that? Like if you you know how would you transfer, like you can transfer somebody's memories just like we can do it with a computer, but like can you transfer somebody's emotions? Can you transfer somebody's feelings, somebody's personality? What makes up a personality?
Mm. That's deep, bro. But I think what makes up personality is experience.
Yes, but it's the experience, but it's is it the emotions, the emotional reaction of the experience that from the memories is, and those like what the best way to put it is, the experience is just the moment that you're in. It's the input. The output is your reaction to that experience. And it's not just a one for one, you turn the light, you turn the switch, the light goes on. But what is the light? The light's warmth. The light is energy. It's life. That's the emotional equivalent to it. But how do you transfer that emotion? How do you even define what that emotion is? How would you define that emotion?
I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. Because here I heard this one guy say one time. He says that every situation that we experience on this planet, in the existence of whatever,
Hmm.
everything, no matter even how tragic it is, starts out at a neutral level, and a reaction is based off of perception. And so something bad happens, automatically that'll manifest anger because we look at it, we identify it, and to us that's a bad thing that just happened, so we react to it, and people have a different reaction level of different levels of different levels of reaction.
Hmm.
Where the hell am I going with this, bro?
Well, what's anger?
Right. So the emotion part. So when I was just thinking about that guy making the reference that every situation is neutral until you see it, and then you, off of all your life experiences, you base a perception off of how
Hmm.
to react off of that. But is that real? Is that real
Oh.
compared to the experiences that created the emotion? The experience was real, but the emotion is something that was just downloaded into your consciousness because that's how you chose to react to that situation that was real.
And that reaction is going to be based off of past experiences and perception, and
100%.
it's okay. And it's like, okay. Well, if you're building your personality up, your personality is set from, like, I think it's like two or three. Your basic personality is set based on your experiences from when you were a baby. It's like how were you nurtured? Were you held?
Mhm.
Were you loved? Were you cared for? That kind of thing, and
Yeah.
that will shape your perception. And also, it's like what is it you observe? You know, it's I'm kind of a smartass. My kids have turned into smartasses. Like my 2-year old will do the whole, like, I'll sit there and she'll feed me Cheerios, and every now and again she'll like go, she'll like put the Cheerio in and just put, like, she'll put the Cheerio in, and then she'll like go, you're chewing, that's great. Then she'll pick up another one and she'll like go, ow.
Oh,
And,
you
and
got,
then and then she'll just give me this, like, this shit eating grin. I'm like, oh my goodness, like, eek. And I know exactly where she got that from,
yeah,
me. And
yeah, I was
it's
gonna say,
and it's like the only way to be able to, like, and that's going to shape the personality as far as, um and also, like, how is it you, if somebody cried, how was the reaction to that crying? Were they, constantly nurtured and there, or was it a little bit of, okay, well, you're crying because, you just want attention, like, you're just doing it because you want something and not because you're in pain, and it's, there's a certain amount of selfishness, like, like kids throwing a tantrum. You don't reinforce the negative behavior, kind of thing. And it's like those initial setups for the personality are going to carry forward later on in life, so that when somebody gets a certain input, they're going to have that negative reaction, which is then shaped by all the other experiences. But it's all still based on that initial experience, or that initial several, sets of experiences, while the brain is still developing before it's hard coded in.
right.
So, but it's like, okay, well, how is it hard coded in? What is it hard, like, what is the initial program? Is it a program? Is it something else? Is it is it biological, where it's like, okay, a certain amount of hormone is released in a certain mixture, that when something happens, then it gets released, and that causes the brain to react a certain way, and is that what emotion is? We don't know. Like, these are things that are fundamentally still being discussed with people who are a lot smarter and have a lot more PhDs and who have piled higher and deeper than you
Yeah.
or I could have at any point in time, and philosophers have been talking about for thousands of years. But it's like, is it simple? Like, what do you think, man?
The way you explained it, you were explaining it just a couple minutes ago, and the word individualism came into mind because we're talking about a basket of experiences which develops a character. Um, And based off the development from those experiences gives you a perception of a situation.
Mm-hmm.
You explain it very logically. You understand from a very intelligent level the importance of parenting at a very young age. I watched an experiment one time where they did this little thing with white mouse and a 2-year-old child. And in the first couple of days, the kid played with it. It didn't know to be afraid of this cute little white mouse. It didn't know it because it wasn't taught to be afraid of it. So it was totally okay with this mouse crawling on its leg. And then
Yeah.
after 2 days, every time that mouse touched this child, they hit a pan with another pan and scared the living bejesus out of the kid. So then it got to a point to where the kid identified that every time that mouse touched it,
Mm-hmm.
there was going to be an experience of fear. And then that person, that baby, because this was done in like the 40s, went their entire life hating tiny white stuffed animals. So there was a traumatic download somewhere into the brain from the emotional experience, like a PTSD, that was at a subconscious level. Because that if that person didn't know that they were studied, they would have went their whole life not liking something and not really understanding why they didn't like it. I wish everybody understood the importance of the downloads of character with children so young, as you explained it, because they don't. They think that they become the teacher when the child becomes a teenager, not understanding the importance of development of character at such a young age. Did you just sneeze?
Oh no, that was me coughing. I'm still getting over, the bug that I had last week. Was not fun on the show. Well, it was
I'm
fun,
not
but
good at being sick. I'm not good at it.
no,
I'm
man,
good.
it sucks. Like this thing's been going around. You know,
Bro,
it's not COVID.
I sneezed yesterday and I went and took a nap. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the 50-year-old. Like the 50s creeping up on you.
Yeah, man,
It's
I'm
like you
feeling
get
it,
up.
bro.
It's like you put your shoes on. You're like, I'm gonna go take a nap. But
Well,
naps are the best.
they are the
I'm
best.
sorry.
Dude, I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Like,
The 20-minute power nap, I'm telling you,
oh,
I sleep better there than I do all night.
okay, like, did you do the power nap where you like you chug like a cup of coffee and you go take a half an hour nap or 20-minute nap, and you wake
So
up and you're good to go.
that's like an ADHD thing. If you can drink coffee to take a nap,
No, it's you. Well, yes, you can, and like I can, totally I
oh,
can. My
yeah, I
dad did the
can.
same thing.
Well, yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna have a black coffee before you go to bed, and everyone thought he was crazy. I'm sitting here like the same age now that he did back then. I'm like, this makes a lot of sense.
I had a cup, bro. I had a cup right before I came on. I had a cup of Dunkin' Donuts, baby. That's what I'm talking
Oh
about.
yeah, that's the American Timmies. You know,
Oh,
America runs on Dunkins, right?
kind of does. I
Uh-huh.
think. I know it's good, but I'm not picky when it comes to coffee. As long as it's drinkable, I'm drinking it. There's caffeine in it. I'm going to drink it. I'll at work sometimes. They have these coffee pots that are so aged. They're aged, so they're not the original color. They used to be clear glass, and now they're a different form of darkness, like a bad storm coming in town or something. And sometimes you got to chew that coffee because they make it so strong. But when times are desperate, you do what you got to do. You know.
Okay, like you probably like your parents were American born, right? Like you're
Correct.
probably third or fourth
No,
generation.
no. My mom was
Oh,
Germany born,
okay,
and my dad was first generation American born.
okay. So he may not like he may remember his parents drinking, like drinking like actual coffee. Like my mom still does. Like before I left her place, she's like, "Do you want a coffee?" I'm like, "Yes, mom." I was like, "I'll have a coffee," and
She
I'll have
brewed on the stove.
oh yeah, like well, no, it was Bodum coffee, so it was like more French press.
Okay.
But sometimes like if I'm having like like if it's been a real tough day and I need that grind, I'm like, it's like mom, it's like break out the pot. It's like she'll make this bronze pot, old school Balkan style Turkish coffee. That
Oh,
you want to talk about chewing coffee?
oh.
Oh man, like you have to drink it in a small little cup. Like
So
this
is it
is
kind of like a espresso?
um
Is that what they call them? Those little coffee cuppy thingies?
basically it's an espresso cup. Like yeah, like that's what European coffee like like Americano's watered down, but like the like coffee is in that type of cup. But this is like old school Turkish coffee. Like we're talking, like
Right,
strong.
right.
You drink it. And if you have too much of it, like you just feel your heart just going, like, it's like putting in the nitrous in an engine. You feel it if you have
Sometimes
two of
we
them.
need that nitrous, though, brother. Sometimes we need that nitrous.
Well, you're supposed to sip it and drink it slowly.
Oh,
You don't shoot it.
well, we're busy. We got things to do.
Well, that's a good that's a good way to to get palpitations, as it
Are
were.
you
It'll
speaking from experience, Mr. Chris?
sometimes if I'm studying or if I need to get home and it's late at night,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, like Turkish coffee, I'm good to go. It'll get me there. For like you wait 20 minutes, you're good to go. Get
Yeah.
home, you crash,
Oh
and
yeah.
you're fine because like the caffeine's gone.
Yep.
But I'll get the recipe. You have to like go get like a copper pot. It looks like a basically it's like it's like a cone, but it's like a cone, and then it goes to just like like it's basically it's a pot, you
It
know.
sounds like a lot of work, man. It
No,
sounds.
because you put the water, you put the coffee in. You gotta
Okay.
get it from a specialty store, probably in Dallas. But like the stuff, it'll get you going, man. Like you think you're chewing coffee, dude? No. And then you get like you get the old school Eastern European or sorry mom, Balkan style like coffee grind reading where you can like read. My mom can read fortunes, which
Oh,
oh yeah, no, man, it's crazy. She'll never. I told her like never read mine. She won't read family, but like friends she'll do.
no
Um,
kidding.
yeah, no, totally. I always joke with her like, is it actually telling the future, or is it because you have enough life experience that you can tell when your friends are dealing with a situation that the coffee then gives you the opportunity to be honest with them and tell them that they're effing up somehow. You could just,
Uh,
you know, it's like,
bro, I'm telling you, what
like
you just said. What
yeah,
you just said, though, dude. That's some legit stuff, bro. About people, I don't even know if it's empathy. I think a lot of these people are mentalists. Even I'm not referring to your mom, but the ability to be able to evaluate
mhm.
somebody's physical being and to be able to give them a reading like that. But dude, do your mom still do it?
She does, yeah. Like I haven't been around when she has. Like obviously with everything that's happened over the last like 6 months, it's probably been, a little bit less of wanting to deal with that kind of thing.
Right, right.
Um, but like yeah, she used to do all the time. Like her friends would come over, they'd have coffee, and then she'd read their read the coffee grinds.
That's
And
pretty cool, man.
yeah, man,
That's pretty cool.
it's that old school like like I'm not gonna say it's like you're growing up in the land of the Roma. It's it's that kind of old school, like hardcore Catholic, but also like old world mysticism at the same
Right.
time. It's a
It's a
weird
unique
mixture
mix.
culture.
Well, think about it though. I mean, without because this is a whole nother 4 hours. But you just look at the process of that of spiritual beliefs throughout time and how some kind of intermingle and mix and this got incorporated over here. And I know a lady from South America, a super strong Christian lady, but
Mhm.
she's all into the voodoo stuff and the magic. She's not into it. She's afraid deathly of it because it's very real to their culture down there.
Mhm.
But yet there's still very devout Christians, or Catholics. Um, it's interesting. It's interesting, but hey, I just look at it. They're good people. I love them for that. I don't even care.
Well, you look at like even knock wood, you know. Like, I'll still say like like, you'll say something like oh well if once we get here and if this doesn't happen and you knock wood and even though it's like okay you're knocking wood to basically tell the fire fairies to you know knock it off essentially or just like calm down even though I know it's a complete superstition you still do it. It's like baseball players when they're they'll have like the pregame or postgame ritual. Like was it Major League Baseball where it's like they go in and they touch the post after a loss? It's like well why is it you don't touch the pole before the game
Oh,
and then you win? Well it's an actual like it was like a post in the
really?
yeah I know that can like be turned into any type of innuendo. But it's like like you touch a certain spot on the floor. Like baseball players are insane. Well,
Mm.
this. Get like you're, you're living in the southern United States. It's baseball and football are life there. Uh,
Soccer, dude, is crazy down here. It's everywhere.
But
Soccer.
it's it's good exercise. It's inexpensive to get your kids into.
Yes, that's it.
You know, like the
That's it.
practices are all after school. You don't have to worry about like 6 a.m. or 5 a.m.
Mm.
Ben, you grew up in Wisconsin,
Well,
Minnesota.
so I was born in Minnesota, but I grew up in Syracuse, New York.
Okay, so well, that's not too far from where I live. That's
Yep.
it's a good 4 hour drive. So like,
Yep.
but like yeah, like Minnesota, it's the same thing up here. Like you grew up probably or at least
Hockey, bro.
hockey
Hockey,
man.
4 a.m. practices.
Oh my God,
And I was a goalie.
oh jeez,
Yeah, bro.
oh my God, been there, been there.
Man.
Never professional, like never Pee Wee League, but my wife is like like oh my my friend she's busy and I don't know how she does it. She's got like taking care of her 3 kids or 2 kids or it's like she does all this stuff and she still still gets up at it's like 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. on a on a Saturday Sunday to drive her kids to hockey and like my same thing with like my brother-in-law and sister-in-law my wife's family their kids were hockey fans like I don't know how you do it. I
You have to
don't.
be so, I mean, because a lot of these very strong hockey families, they're on those traveling leagues. So it's year round, bro.
Jeez.
Yeah. And it's expensive. I didn't
Yeah.
realize why my dad worked so much overtime when I was playing hockey.
Jeez, man.
Yeah. Well, because, that stuff's expensive. Brother, I got a big interview in the morning.
You do?
I
Oh,
am,
we are
I
well.
am,
What time? Oh, so are we getting close to that time? Are we?
I am interviewing Kenny Gant.
Oh,
Uh,
that's right. Oh, you. I thought you said in the morning interview.
no,
Like,
yeah, yeah. No, I interview him. We record tomorrow
oh
and then
yeah,
we publish it on Saturday. So,
nice.
yeah. So he is a two-time Super Bowl champion. Um, but it's not about the athleticism while we're having these professional athletes on. It's you hear these stories of what they go through after. We were just talking about hockey. These guys since second grade, their whole life has been training and football and
Hmm.
camps and games, and then they go all the way up into the professional career. Now this, Kenny, he played till he was like 34, Pro Bowl 5 years in a row. So it was a major part of his life all the way until one day he retires. And what he did since second grade up until the day he retired, it was done. And a lot of these guys don't know how to reestablish their feet in the ground because they're used to being told where they need to be next. Where's the next camp? Where's the next training session?
What
And all that is gone.
when's the next training session? When's the next like when's the next practice?
Yeah.
It's your social life. It's your entire lifestyle. Your schedule is completely upended. It's like with anybody. Like if like when my dad retired, he basically drove himself crazy. Probably the same thing with your dad. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
what do you do? You've been doing the exact same thing for 40 years, or for 50 years, or for
That's
for
it.
however long. How
That's
is
it.
it you?
Back.
How is it you adjust? Uh, like even for like I kind of attribute it to, and obviously it's not the same, but like I attribute it to the same thing with like people who've been in the military. If they've seen action or if they've seen like any type of combat, or if they've
Right.
been in very stressful situations for an extended period of time. Um, there's a certain like the routine not really like break like it doesn't break you down but you get so ingrained within that mode of every single day where it's like okay you've got to reestablish these hardwired uh, um, like just
Well,
actions in every
reference
single day.
prisoners that become institutionalized. I think that's the best way to reference it. So you have somebody who did 15 years in prison.
Hmm.
They're so used to be corralled and herded. They're used to being told what time to go to sleep, what time they have to eat dinner, and what time they have to drop laundry off. One of the main reasons a lot of people they are repeat offenders is because they don't know how to change the way they live their life for 15 years. They don't know how to make the change.
One guy you got to get in the show if you've ever watched his channel, Larry Lawton. You ever hear
Okay.
of him?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like you got to interview this guy because like just in terms of the work he does in the community now, I think he's you know America's most successful jewel thief to being I think like the work that he's done he was given an honorary, like I think he's an honorary sheriff or deputy, but basically was made an honorary police officer for his work on making sure kids don't go down the same path.
Wow.
And like his entire YouTube channel, like I got into him when he first started his channel up, and he would talk about what it was like going to jail, what it was like being in jail, what the routines were like, and getting out, what kept him going from like one prison to another.
Right.
And like I've heard a couple of like his stories are just fantastic because they're down to earth. He even teaches you how to like do like prison cooking, which is great.
Bro,
Like
yeah. There's
that's
magic to
that
that.
like you're dealing like he's being able to tell the story, and obviously he's making a living off of it, and God bless him for that because everyone got to eat, right? Um, and it's also like it's teaching lessons, but it's also what I get from that is the amount of trauma that people get in those situations, and it's
Yeah,
not just the like it's the routine, but it's the repeated, it's the conditioning, it's the environment that you're in.
complete. Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. And it's haunting. It's a haunting thing. And but you learn a lot about the human psyche when when you see it from that angle. And that's why I don't want to be a creature of habit. That's why I'm actually, brother, there's a lot of times, maybe even within the last year, that a lot of parts of me feel disconnected with society.
Hmm.
It's just feels like I don't want to be part of it anymore. And that's not a dark negative thing. It's a different matrix, and I want my matrix over here. I don't want to be part of that mess. It's too messy and gross now. And
Yeah,
it's just like when you start growing and maturing, it's just like you don't want insanity, you want serenity, and that's what I want. I want some serenity.
preach, preach.
Come on,
Oh man,
brother.
that's I know. Oh man, I know exactly where you're coming from. Like that's yeah, no, that's basically that's been my attitude. Like
And you cannot stop. Even and you mentioned it perfectly at the beginning of the program. Is understanding the fact that you're gonna have those days, bro. Man, you're gonna feel broken. I've had how I got through the last 6 months of my life, man. I don't know, and still
hmm
able to accomplish the things that we did. I don't know. It's the will of not wanting to fail, or not wanting to. I don't know what it was, brother. It's just this will and drive we have not to be like what we used to be. I guess I don't know.
for me, it's I'm not gonna say it's apathy. Like it's not because it's not apathy. Like I care a great deal. Like if my kids are hurt, or if my wife is having a bad day and it's like or she's just having a tough time of it, because it's like if you're adulting, there's struggles, with
Mhm.
anybody. It's the same thing with you, the same thing with your wife, the same thing with anybody else who's listening. And like I care deeply about that, but it's I look at from dealing with and dealing with, let's see, father going to the hospital, major natural disaster, which basically threw knocked out power. You're spending a month nursing my dad back to health, changing jobs, getting into that mode, thinking, oh, things are fine, and then dad passing, then dealing with everything after that, dealing with the last year, dealing with the last 2 months of being extremely busy at work, and it's like dealing with having to deal with like my car breaking, but my Santa Fe broke down because the engine it went on it finally. And it was kind of funny when that actually happened, just as a digression. Uh, Visited my father's grave and, was like sitting there and had a word. I'm like, Dad, your car is still a piece of shit. And I'm leaving the grave, I'm leaving the cemetery, and it's like, da 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 da. I'm like, really? like, like, okay. Because he loved that car, and he's like, don't talk badly about my car. I'm like, okay, Dad. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
uh huh.
Yep, you
It's
talk
it's
bad
one of
about
those
the
like
car.
if like I'm a rational guy, but there's I know when the universe is talking to me kind of thing,
There you go.
and it's like all of those like all of those things one after another, like getting sick, COVID, blah 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 blah,
Yep.
and like I hear some of my friends like, like you've been like like every single month some crazy just that you have no power over that you just have to deal with and you're thrown into it. How is it you do it? I'm like, at this point, I have two options. I can either just say like, eh, You know, it's just that it's another thing, throw it on the pile, and just like not even keep going forward. Just like we'll deal with the situation as it comes, and we'll focus on the solution. Or you can just keep focusing on the negativity and the obstacle and saying, oh, I can't overcome this, instead of like, all right, so this is like, what is it I need to be able to do to fix this? Where is it I need to, like, what do I need to do to take the next right step next to be able to keep going forward while not getting rid of it, but handling it so it's fixed or at least managed. And you get into that, like you have to talk about someone professionally. It's like, hey man, I know a lot of people I know have talked to therapists, and the therapist is like, what the, like, how are you, like, you're still standing, this is impressive. It's
Right.
like, you got to focus on the solution. You got to, like, the problems suck, yeah, but eventually it's like, man, life is going to be problems on a constant basis. Some of them caused by you, some of them are caused by somebody else, some of them is just entropy of the universe, and it's that big rock that's coming out of the sky, and it's going to slam into the Yucatan Peninsula and wipe out the dinosaurs.
Right.
And it's like, you can sink, you can swim, you can deal with it, you can run from it, but it's inevitable. You might as well accept it and move on, or
I,
accept it, fix it, and move on.
well, it kind of gives me a drive to work with the philosophy that the closer you get to greatness,
Mm-hmm.
the more the devil tries to stop you.
More money,
So
more problems.
I'm gonna roll with that because that means I'm getting pretty damn close, because he's working real hard. You know, he always seems to be trying to put a thorn in everybody's fun.
Well, it's like, is it? The thing is, like, a lot of this is just chance. Like, if you're talking like an actual devil, or if you're talking metaphorical, it a lot of life is struggle. Like, pain is wisdom.
Yep.
Pain is wisdom, and that's the first time I said that, my wife was like, "That's kind of morbid." I'm like, "No, it's very basic." You when you were a kid, mom was like, "Don't touch the stove. It's
Hmm.
hot." You touch the stove, you're like, ah. But you learn not to touch that stove.
Yep.
And from dealing with a lot of the situations, you don't get desensitized to it, but you get to a point in time where the the bad things don't seem as insurmountable if they happen the second time, because you're like, oh, I've already dealt with this situation before. I know how to deal with this. I've developed the tools that can handle the situation or fix the problem a lot better.
You're like, I got this under control. Don't worry about this. I got this.
Well, it's like the first time. Like, okay, what was your favorite game when you were growing up? Like, you played Nintendo, or were you a Sega guy?
Oh, Nintendo guy.
Okay, like what?
I played the Mario one that only had two boards.
So
Oh
like,
wait, no, that was Atari. Sorry, I'm a little bit. I just aged myself a little bit. What was my game on Nintendo? What was the big popular game back then? It was the Super Mario Brothers on Nintendo, just the advanced ones, and learn all the cheat codes and all that.
so are we talking the one where you had like the whistles and like the Tanuki suit, or are we talking the original one with like the
Okay.
three colors? Red Mario with the fireballs, and that was it.
So I've done that one with the Atari.
Okay, so when you got to a level, like it would, like the game that was the hardest for you to beat. How long did it take you?
Oh shoot, I would stay up for days sometimes. But I definitely pull a couple nighters. Just to get to level 9 on Super Mario Bros. Or Nintendo or with Super Mario Brothers.
And like, once you beat that game, were you able to beat it again a lot easier the next time?
Easy with my eyes closed, probably in half the time.
So it's the same thing. And for anybody who's wondering, I'm wearing shorts. I'm not just like in my no pants here, but like, yeah,
What, bro?
what man, chicken legs, you know.
You ain't scared of nothing. All right.
Um, it's the same thing with life. You save the princess, throw Bowser into the pool. You're like, all right, this is cool. It's not that, level 9 is not that hard. All the bullets that are flying around and those fiery, turning traps. It's like, yeah, I got this. That's life. Kind of the same thing. You do it once, you can do it again a little bit better.
Yeah, we just got to stop overcomplicating simplicity.
Oh my God. What? How do you deal with just like a day to day, like how do you keep things simple? Just in terms of like like, not metaphorically. I'm talking about getting through your day.
Right. So I got a philosophy, and I call it the spiritual monetary system. Okay, the spiritual monetary system, my SMS. So I start out every day with 100 spiritual dollars. And as I progress through the day and I have different interactions with different people, I can invest some of my spiritual money to that person in depending on what their situation is. But my first question is there an ROI, or am I going to just deplete part of my 100% energy base and give you some without a return, meaning that it's a negative situation for me? So if I'm going to put out energy, if I'm going to give some of my spiritual money away, it's always going to be an investment. And if there's not an ROI on my investment, I'm not going to acknowledge it. And I had to train myself. And being a management with managing the amount of people I manage, you have to train yourself to think like that. It's a priority of investment in the mind. How much real estate are we going to give that? Because what I've learned is that overthinking is actually and can create some major catastrophic issues and actually add on multiple issues on top of the original core issue. And then everything is chaos because you're not just dealing with the core issue anymore. Now you're dealing with the surface issues from the reaction of the overthinking.
Oh, jeez. That's really cool. Like just from your spiritual monetary system,
Yeah, the SMS.
the SMS, and like that's basically just learning how to like prioritize and time manage, but
Yeah.
in a more of a philosophical way. I was talking more from a, do you make your lunch at night or do you rush and make it in the morning, and then go to the washroom? That kind of process. How do you get through your day? But that's still pretty cool.
Oh man, bro, I don't, I don't plan any of when I do
All
anything.
right.
You know what I'm saying? Because then I don't get mad when I don't do it.
It's like, oh, okay, well, there you go. It's like, oh, all right. Well, it's like, man, I've got this like deep philosophical question. Like, well, like, do you put your shoes on before you put your socks on, or do you just
Yeah.
like throw the socks in the truck and you go? Like,
I never when I was a clubby and I rode all the time on a motorcycle, I never got a motorcycle because I wanted to have a beautiful shiny motorcycle. I got a motorcycle because I enjoyed the spiritual experience of riding, the freedom of riding. So I never cared for my bike like a lot of these weekend warriors would. My bike was always dirty. I'd have saddlebags that were all dirty, full of mud. I would always have a sleeping bag on my back seat, all curled up. I actually use it for a backrest. And everybody always says, dude, why don't you clean your bike? I says, because if I clean my bike, then I'm going to always worry about keeping it clean.
mhm.
I don't ride a bike to worry about keeping it clean. I ride a bike so I can go out and hammer it down and go feel some wind in my face. That's what I do it for. So I'm not going to worry about a clean bike. I'm going to worry about a bike I can ride.
Amen. It's the same thing with me. Although for me, it's like, I love my car. I try and keep the inside as clean as possible, just from not having crushed up cans of like Perrier, or like a chip bag, or whatever. But I'll always try and make sure that my backup camera is clean. Just at least just walk by, just take it off, just so I know where I'm going, even if it's got the sensors. But if it's the windows are dirty, as long as I can see, I'm okay. But I'm religious about making sure I can see at the front window or the back window. So like I'll always, especially like the snowy
Mm-hmm.
pre-spring, late
Yep.
winter, like salt on the road, like there's slush, cars are in the back. Yeah,
Terrible.
it's annoying as hell. Anybody in the southern, like if you're in a warm climate, you'll understand rain, you'll understand mud on your car. You will never know the absolute frustration of trying to drive at night when it's just around, I'd say maybe like 20, 30 degrees outside, and it's slushy.
Slush splash.
Exactly, and like you got a car or truck that's just constantly spraying in front of you, and you just have like
Oh,
the windshield wipers go this way, and it's just streak,
yeah,
streak.
it smears it. It don't take it off.
Oh, we have like up here in Ottawa, it's bad up here in Ottawa. Every single gas station will have windshield fluid, like dozens and dozens outside of it. There's a 2-for-1 special, like $15. We actually had a run on it this year with supply chain issues. There was like a week where nobody had any.
Yeah.
It's like, you throw some, like the older days, throw some snow on the front and you wipe it off.
Hey, bro, I've done that at stop signs where you hurry up and get out of the car, go grab a handful of snow
Mhm.
and wipe it on the windshield.
Oh my god.
Ooh, that's a dangerous thing, walking around with that smear on your windows.
Well, yeah, because like, you can't see, especially if like it even if you're in the morning, if you're driving into the sun, because the sun's going to reflect right through it, and all you're just going to do is get glare, which means you can't see anything. At the same
Right.
at nighttime at this time of year, or at least before daylight savings time,
Mm-hmm.
in Ottawa, you go at 5 o'clock or 5:30, and all you have is just the sun right at its largest and its brightest, right on the horizon. It's just shining right in your face,
Right.
and like you're going at 100, like say it's 60, 70 on the highway, or you're trying to, you can't see out the window, so you drive slower, and then everyone drives slower, and then it takes you an hour and a half to get home. It's annoying.
Oh, I'm not good at that. I'm not good.
Well, you're like, man, you're in Dallas now. Like you don't have
Mhm.
that. It's like you're 4 hours from the coast, so you're dealing with at least humidity from the Gulf. But
I'm dealing with psychopath drivers down here. Everybody thinks they're race car drivers. It is the worst place. It's the second worst place to drive in America.
what's the first? L.A.
LA. Yep. Yep. The 405.
Because like
405 is terrible, bro.
405 in L.A. or in Dallas. Like
Yeah, 405 in LA. It's
what
in LA. It's the what? It's ask Audrey. She knows all about it. But it's dude. I was so freaked out when I went to California and I was on the 405. I've never seen anything like it in my life. But Dallas is a close second. People here are crazy, bro.
what's your commute like in the morning? Like how long does it take you? Or do
So
you just
my day starts. I get up at 4 a.m. every day. My days go from 4 a.m. till 9 at night. So I get up at 4 a.m. The reason I get up at 4 a.m. is to beat the 5 a.m. traffic, because once you hit 5 o'clock, you are done, bro. You got people doing 105 miles an hour in and out of cars because they're crabby and they need a hug. But my ride home, I'm about 26 miles away from the facility I work at. Sometimes it takes me almost 2 hours because it just gets bumper to bumper and gridlock. And then accidents down here, because everybody thinks they're a race car driver, accidents down here are catastrophic. They're just not bumper benders, they are catastrophic. Terrible stuff.
105? That's what 140, 150 kilometers an hour, give or take. Like
Mhm.
that's like left lane. When traffic is clear in the left lane, and like in Ottawa, it's three to four lanes. Usually, it's about 3 lanes. You get some HOV lanes. You get like a transit lane, but in the left lane, you'll have two people like myself, where it's like you're doing. Let me try and translate this roughly into miles here. You're doing like 75. Like that's kind of the safe speed,
Mhm.
because you're doing 10 over, at least 10 miles over.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
cops don't care. Like you probably push it to 15 over sometimes. Um, but if you like, you'll get the occasional guys like 140, get out of my way, and you can
Yeah.
either stay with traffic or move over. Then you get the people who are doing like 40
Oh my
in the
God, bro.
left lane in
Bro.
clear traffic. It's like, why? And this isn't. It doesn't matter the like race, nationality, gender, sex of the person.
Right, right,
They're just
right.
those individuals. Like it's agnostic here in Ottawa. Like it doesn't matter. Like you just have people who are just like Sunday driving in the left lane, and it's like, why when like why like there's nobody else on
People,
the road.
bro, there has been people have gotten killed down here
Yep.
because of the slow drivers creates road rage. And then that slow driver is a crazy person at the same time. They just drive real slow. You know what I mean? Um, those are the most, and I'm sorry, I'm going to say it like this, but the people really, you got to understand how much of a pain in our face you are when you're doing literally the speed limit in what we call a speed pass lane. There's states here that actually you can get a pretty hefty fine if you are impeding traffic in a speed lane. If you see a car coming behind you, folks, you know what that means? It means you move over. If the car is going faster than you,
Hmm.
allow it to go faster than you. It's really simple. The philosophy of driving on a 3-lane highway, super simple.
Well, and that's the thing. Like you go outside city limits, and people understand. Well, you got it goes down in 2 lanes.
Mm-hmm.
The left is the fast lane. If somebody's coming up behind you, you move over. But like if, 5 miles behind you in city, those rules don't apply. Going from Ottawa to Toronto, it's pretty well established that you just move the heck out of the way. And then you got the people who are like, well, I'm just going to go extra fast and I'm going to pass on the right. And but here in town, everyone passes on the right because no one on the left moves the heck over, and that
See,
causes traffic, that causes accidents. I've seen some like 10 car pileups in
yep,
the winter
yep.
just of people doing that because I don't I just don't understand.
They're forcing the impatient drivers to forcefully, and you're already upset because you're already mad because somebody's doing 40 in the speed lane. So you kind of want to let them know you're upset by giving a little bit of juice, and,
And then
and everything backfires.
and then at least in the states, people have guns.
There,
Like,
in Dallas, we
yeah.
hear it a lot of the road rage shootings.
Well, there was one out of Florida, and again, Florida's its own, and again, not getting political here, people,
Hmm.
but it's its own universe.
Hmm.
In the Florida man stories are everywhere, and there was one video on Reddit that I saw where like some guy's driving, and somebody throws just threw a cup out of their car, and like the cup hit their window. The person is driving, pulls up their side, pulls a gun out, and then just unloads an entire clip out of their just all out of the front of their car, out of the side window. And I'm like, what? Like, are you kidding me? Like you when you hear about that in Canada, if you hear about that in Toronto, it becomes national news. It's like this is, first of all because it's an illegal gun. Second
Yep.
of all, it's because somebody used it, and third of all because somebody used it in traffic.
I
You
want to buy a mountain, bro, with a big fence all the way around the mountain.
just give
My
me a
own mountain.
lake.
Yeah, it'll be my own country.
You can have like your own currency and your own flag.
My own conspiracies. No.
The conspiracy of, did the bear really shit in the woods?
That's going to be the deepest it gets. Dude, those are going to be the debates we have. Did the Bears in the Woods debate? Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. Be there.
And on that note,
Brother, I love you, man. I really do. And I'm so damn grateful that
me too, brother.
I
Me
missed
too.
you, man. I did. I
I
missed
missed
you.
you too, man. A great deal.
We got to have you come on my show, and we just got to talk about some things, man. Just talk about life. That's the cool thing about what I do. When the show's named after you and you're the boss, you can talk about whatever you want.
Well, that's
You
kind of
know?
the fun thing. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, it's what is the cool shit we learned tonight? We learned about life. We learned some philosophy. We learned some ancient
Hmm.
history. We learned some astrophysics.
Well, I'm all
We
about
learned some,
physics.
you know. Is the cat dead or alive? We don't know. We just know that it wants treats.
And the cool thing about these kinds is that these are the conversations that, I'll put in my car when I'm driving tomorrow
Mhm.
and I'll just listen back to what we're saying. It's just everything's relatable, brother. And that's a beautiful thing about you, man. And I'm so happy
Same,
to see you
brother.
back on the microphone. That's
Me too. Me too.
important.
It
So
was
you
one.
are, man.
It was one of those things. Like my dad used to. He never told me, but my mom would always tell me. It's like, yeah, your dad watches your show. I'm like, oh God, the amount of swearing that I did on the show back then, and the f bombs that I'd throw. Well, that's where I learned how to swear was from him from when I was younger. And it's like, okay, well, working through stuff and getting that creative outlet there. It's like, okay, now it's time to be able to get things going. So, and
Good.
like the big thing is like I couldn't do the show if I didn't have you on, because every single time you've always been on the show, every single time I've always talked to you, whether it's through text or it's just like sending a meme or it's over Facebook when I know, whenever you have the time, it's like it's always been a positive experience. And I'm like, I want other people to be able to have that positive experience and be able to share that with others because like people know you through your radio shows or they know you through Facebook, man. But it's like I just know you as Rocky, my brother, and
Yeah.
much
Brother, I
love for
tell
you,
you,
bro.
man, it's been an evolutionary process. I've learned a lot about myself through the process of radio and exploration of life and reality and the matrix and the good thing about it is, yeah, it's been a fun, weird run and it's been dark and ugly too at times.
Hmm.
But if we're willing to see the lessons around us, even in radio, even in politics, even in societal conversations, with the right people, you'll make the right progress.
Amen.
It's that simple. You know what I'm saying? And I'm honored to call you my brother, and I'm honored to have you in my circle, and I can't wait to have you come on our show, and we'll talk about whatever the hell you want to talk about, bro.
Well, that would be appreciated. You let me know the time. I'll set up the tables a little bit better this time. And at least I'll put a back drape here or something.
Don't worry about a back tray, brother. Come on. Man,
All right.
hey, you know what? What matters is that you're on your microphone, man, and people can hear your voice.
All right, so we're gonna do one card game because these cards have been here for the entire time I look at them. All right, so tell me when to stop. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Wait. Try that.
Okay. Stop.
You got 6. These are gold from the Golden Nugget, by the way.
Okay.
So
16.
it's just high low.
Oh, shoot. Oh, wait. Okay, wait. What am I supposed to be doing?
Just stop, and if you whatever card you get, if I got the higher card or not,
Oh, okay. Okay, ready? Here we go. Here we go.
Go. Okay, so try it again. Try it again. So, okay.
Stop.
No, okay, no, do that again. I missed it.
Okay.
All right.
Stop.
5.
Okay. I'm feeling good. Strangers in the night.
10. So I win this one. 10 of hearts.
What?
So next time, if I ever come down to Dallas or you come up to Ottawa, you buy me a beer. Then I'll buy you 2
Okay,
more.
well, you need to come to Dallas because we need to get you in the new studios.
Oh, dude, man. Let me get once I get the new house and the new studio built up here, then once I figure out the finances, because houses they're expensive, but you need the space. Like the kids are growing, and having the dog, plus the kids, plus myself, plus the wife watching TV at the same time, and it's like no, you kids have your room, we'll have our room, we'll have the kitchen and the dining room to meet up, and then all right.
Hey, Audrey's coming down in November for the celebrity softball game.
Oh man, November.
So just keep
That may
that
be doable.
Keep that in mind, brother.
Okay.
Keep that in mind.
Okay,
We always
cool.
got room for you, bro.
Well, I appreciate that, man. Yes, just stay on the line for a second.
Yes,
I'll
sir.
sign us off. So, ladies and gents, next week I believe we've got William Pullum on next week. So, check that out. We're gonna be talking some UFOs, and at least the UFO in society, what's been going on in the UFO sphere, just from a how's that going? Because I haven't talked about that in a while, and we all know how much fun that used to be. So, we'll see you next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. Cheers, everybody. All right, and we are